Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Welcome. This is we're having an in-person meeting here at the library in the Techno Lab at the main branch. The announcement has gone out, and it says also remote participation will be happening. And I will read the legal wording here. It's October 4th at 7:02 p.m. The next meeting of the library trustees is scheduled now, and remote participation is allowed in accordance with Section 20A, B, and C of the Acts of 2021 signed into law by Governor Baker on June 16, 2021, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting laws, General Law C-30A, Section 18. Alternative public access to this meeting shall be provided in the following manner. The meeting will be televised via Peabody Access Television. Real-time public comment during the meeting can be addressed to the Board of Library Trustees utilizing the Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. This application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment or question to the chair via the audio option. And we have all the information here on the notice on how to do that and get online. So moving to the agenda, I'd like to call to order a roll call. Sarah? Thank you.
Peter Barkula.
Yeah.
Stephanie Belair.
Present.
Francisca Luigi. Yep. Don McAllister.
Here.
Stephanie Najar. Here. Kate O'Brien is at the fair. Thomas Pappas.
Here.
Ann Quinn.
Here.
Richard Shruhan.
Here.
And Morgan Yo.
Here.
Thank you, Sarah. And welcome, Sarah, also.
Thank you.
We don't have any minutes, do we? Here?
We don't have minutes.
Okay.
Sarah will be preparing the minutes and they'll be ready soon.
Okay, so for the record, the meeting minutes will be prepared for next meeting.
Yes.
Okay. And receipt of communication. Do we have any communications? No communications. And let's move on to the report of the library director.
Sure.
Director Merlin.
Good evening, everybody. I do have a report to read, and while I do that, we are doing a monthly brochure now of all of our events and services happening. So feel free to take a copy, take a look at it, and that's the new one that just came out a couple of days ago. So that's what we're doing right now. Good evening. Director's report to the Board of Library Trustees, October 2021. Staffing. On September 20th, staff gathered for a successful all-staff meeting, the first in nearly 2 years. With so many new staff members beginning over the summer, it was wonderful to see new and old faces, share information with staff all at once, and have a chance to answer questions. After 18 months of a pandemic, the laying off of so many part-time staff, the return of some of them, and the hiring of brand new staff, these quarterly meetings are incredibly important for morale and continuity. In order to keep this momentum going, I am requesting tonight that the trustees approve a 12 p.m. late opening for all 3 locations on Monday, December 8th for our next all-staff meeting. We continue to be fully staffed, knock on wood, and the position of senior custodian has been posted by the city. Interviews will begin soon. Librarian Sharon Janis continues to work towards her required bachelor's degree, and senior librarians Joanna Correa, Christy Bryant, and Amy Titus continue work towards their retired Masters of Library Science degrees. Tonight, I'm also requesting the pre-approval of tuition reimbursement for their fall semester classes as is required by the contract. Programs and initiatives. Programming has continued in the main library's outdoor courtyard and will begin inside in all 3 locations this month. In accordance with the city's COVID safety protocols, masks are required of all patrons as they are in all library spaces, and room and event capacities have decreased in order to allow for 3 feet of distance between all attendees. Meeting rooms and spaces are now able to be reserved by outside groups, and all outside groups must agree to and follow the city's COVID protocols. I will make decisions every month as to the programming outlook for the following month based on COVID case trends and local and state guidance. All adult programs are being simultaneously offered as hybrid programs, in person and over Zoom. This was originally begun due to COVID, but will continue for all events going forward, as it greatly increases access for patrons, whether they choose not to attend in person, are not able to attend in person, or live in other areas that wish to participate in our programs. Upcoming programs of note, these are all in the events brochure I passed out. They include our fall concert series, the return of Professor Theo Harris's lecture series focusing on Black American literature and poetry, regularly scheduled adult yoga and meditation, the South Branch Art Show, inviting local artists to display their works at the South Branch Library, children's programs that span all 3 locations, like the upcoming trick-or-treating on October 28th, featuring candy and kids in costumes. 5 weekly children's story times and programs, including weekly children's yoga, a weekly craft program, and weekly online story time. Appointments for one-on-one tech help. Appointments for local history and genealogy research in the Sutton Room. The return of conversation circle language groups, and the upcoming reopening of the Creativity Lab on November 1st. Peabody Access TV has relocated to 81 Main Street, and I met recently with their staff to coordinate the broadcasting of our events, both live and from digital recordings. I also hope to begin a monthly library show on PATV to share our new collection, services, and programs with the public who rely on PATV to learn about Peabody happenings. Senior local history librarian Catherine Badal has been working for months to organize and recatalog, when necessary, the entire local history collection that is housed in the Sutton Room. Because the Sutton Room itself also needs attention, she has also spent months reorganizing the room itself, which has involved basic cleaning, repairing of book storage boxes, moving shelving and fixtures, and focusing on the room itself as a historical item, not just the home of our local history collection. At Senior Librarian Badal's request, our November 1st meeting will take place in the Sutton Room itself, so that she may show you her progress, the most interesting items that she has discovered, and so that she may request the approval of the Brattle Books Trust funds that are to be used for local history and Sutton Room reasons only, to be spent on upgraded storage and UV protection in the Sutton Room, necessary repairs to shelves and other fixtures, display cases to showcase our local history, Audubon, and George Peabody collections in our 3 library locations and other city departments, and to ensure that the Sutton Room continues to be a reading and research room that is worthy of our collection and our community. The Sutton Room will open for programming by the end of October. And finally, if you're planning on attending the Topsfield Fair this coming Friday the 8th and Saturday the 9th, Foundation and staff members will be hosting a nonprofit table, spreading the word about the library, signing people up for our newly designed library cards, and selling library merchandise as a Foundation fundraiser. I have samples for you to take a look at. This is our new library card design. It's very simple and clean, but it's very snazzy because you can get a wallet and keychain card at once, which was not an option previously. They do all have new barcode numbers on them, so if you decide to upgrade to this, you do have to switch your barcode number, but everything will still work. But we're going to be handing these out at the Topsfield Fair and actually signing people up for cards there. And then starting next week, people that come in to get library cards will get this new design. So the merchandise we'll be selling is, it's a bundle basically. It's all a fundraiser. For $10, it's these beautiful tote bags, which feature a pocket in the front and 2 pockets on the side. 2 pens. There are 2 different styles of pens, burgundy and white, one with black ink, one with blue ink. And then either a permanent vinyl sticker with our logo on it, or a bigger oval car magnet to put on your the bumper of your car as well. So it's $10 for the bundle, and you either pick the magnet or the sticker. And then all funds will go directly to the foundation and then towards our programs and initiatives. And then these items will all be available for purchase separately at all 3 locations beginning next week. And then we'll start phasing in the library cards next week as well. Next week, yep. That's all of our new pretty branded stuff. So the budget, I have provided you with the current budget. Nothing is of concern. Everything is hitting its targets. I completed and submitted our FY21 financial reporting to the MBLC, and as planned, our FY22 budget is enough to guarantee full certification for the year. Hooray! Just a side note, last year, in previous years, our state aid had been about $65,000 a year. Last year, the line item for the state was up by about 20%. So we got, I think, $82,000 last year, and I expect it to be the same this year. So those are very helpful funds used for building and capital, new furniture and collections and all that fun stuff. So then about the trustees line item. So the FY22 budget has already been finalized. I unfortunately am not able to add the trustees line item back into this year's budget without taking funds from another line item. And all that has been accounted for already. This line item was removed from the FY21 budget back then in order to conserve funds. And we also removed the funding for the part-time pages at the same time. And then also wasn't added back this year, same with the pages for the same reasons. But I'm confident that we are on solid budgetary footing going forward. So this line item and the page salaries will be added to my FY23 request in the spring. So if we can just get through the rest of this fiscal year, I hope to get this back for starting on July 1st going forward. So policy then, you have some packets of policy. I have both the old policy and the new policy. So you can, the old policies just have the policy name and the new ones have draft. So a couple things. First though, This year, both the Christmas and New Year's holidays fall on a Saturday. Sundays are staffed by a rotating schedule of aides, 4 at a time, basically. And in the interest of fairness to all aides who are and are not scheduled to work on that date, and to preemptively do away with the time off requests from those who would understandably like to be with their family and friends on those days, I'm requesting that the trustees designate Sunday, December 26th and Sunday, January 2nd as trustees holidays for this year. And then on to policies, more policies. The library purchased 20 Chromebook laptops with state earmarked funds in the spring, with 15 to be circulated as normal materials and 5 to be reserved for in-library use. I request the discussion and approval of the policies and lending agreement for the Chromebooks this evening. Those are in your packet of stuff. And then I've also updated our materials circulation policy to reflect our no overdue fine-free status and to delete obsolete material types. I've updated the museum pass policy to reflect our new fine-free status and updated our non-smoking policy to include the prohibition of the use of marijuana on library property. I request a discussion and approval of these policy updates this evening as well. Audubons. I've contacted Studio TKM Associates to restart the Audubon print conservation project. The city's insurance carrier has changed since the last time we sent prints out for conservation. So I'm waiting for our insurance policy to be updated before we move forward with this process. So that should happen soon. And then building and grounds, work began this morning on replacing the elevator's oil and valve, and will continue for the remainder of the week. So at least we're moving forward on that. And that's it.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The TKM Associates, do you have any idea how many prints they're going to want to restore?
So the way back, I want to say at least 10 years ago, they went through all of our prints that are in the vault and put them in order. And I think at that time, assessed each one for the level of low or moderate or severe damage and work
Right.
had to be done. So they basically just, every time we say we're ready, they give us the next list of 20. I contacted them after last month's vote, and so that we're going to be doing 15 this time. The foundation is contributing money, and I think this is our last batch of Sawitsky Trust money that we can spend on it, and then state aid. So we're going to start with 15 and then hopefully ramp back up to 20 next year. And it was very simple. I just emailed them and said, we're going to do 15 this time. They sent me back an updated list of the next 15 instead of the next 20.
So can, when you get a chance, could you email that to Ann and myself? I'd like to see it.
Yeah, sure.
Anybody else that?
Absolutely. And the issue with the insurance is that the new carrier doesn't include, as far as I understand with the lingo, doesn't include a policy that insures these when they're out of our building. And so the city and the city auditor is getting a quote for adding that insurance, that fine arts policy for us going forward.
Okay.
It's just something that it seems was, when they switched carriers, it seems it just kind of was accidentally left off of the policy, and now the city's adding it back on.
Did they pick up their cost?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Has the coach been appraised lately?
Not lately. No.
Sure.
They were going based off the quote that's in the works is based off of the current insured amount, but honestly, I don't know how current that is. They did have a number value that they had that they could base the quote off of, but again, I don't know how recent that is, but I can look into that though.
Anybody else? Hey, go ahead, Don.
Had one question, Kate, on the working through the 20.
Yeah.
Where are we from the worst, getting closer to the least worst? Are we halfway through or 3/4?
We are
Roughly. I don't need exact numbers, roughly.
We're more than halfway.
We're more than halfway. I want to say we have about 80 to 100 left. I want to say we're 2/3 of the way done.
84.
80 to 100 left.
Oh,
I
80
think
to 100. Okay.
we're at least 2/3 of the way done.
Yeah,
Well-
well, you're 3/4 if you.
Yeah.
So good.
2018, we made it up all the way to 271.
Okay, so then we have less than, so we're only about halfway then. A little more than halfway,
Yeah,
closer to 2/3. Yeah. It's a slow process.
But these last ones are the ones that were in the better condition.
They started with the worst.
They started.
Yeah, because most of these, some of these in this batch do have like more work that are needed. They're the $2,000 per item versus 1,000.
Yeah, I don't doubt.
Hopefully, you're right. Hopefully the costs are going to go down every year. Yeah.
And the-
We're getting into that, almost almost not bad.
Mhm.
Any other questions for the director?
About the staff thing.
Mhm.
You talked about all these, the staff working through their degrees.
Yep.
And I think you're gonna have to speak up. 'cause I can barely hear you.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
You have these staff who are working toward their
Mhm.
degrees, master's of library science, one with quite a bachelor's degree.
Yep.
How is it that they don't have these credentials already?
The job descriptions all allow for working towards the required degree. They have to be finished within 2 years, I believe. That's just how the contract and how the job descriptions have always worked.
So anybody could be considered for these positions?
They have to have already started the degrees. The person can't apply and then say, oh, I'm definitely going to start library school next month. They already have to be in progress in their degrees. Either there's some people who have, taken a year off from, gone to school for either bachelor's or master's degree, taken some time off and then come back and said, look, I've signed up for classes. I can prove that I've paid the bills and I'm going back to class when I start classes, or I just got accepted and here's my tuition bill for the fall. There has to be proof, and I have proof from all of them that they were working on these degrees before they actually started their positions.
Can I tag on to Ann's questioning?
Yep.
I know my place of employment, there are folks who get their degrees and for higher education and they get paid by the company.
Mhm.
And if they're planning to leave, they end up having to pay a lot of that money back.
Yep.
Somehow. Now, what is the retention of our employees that we send to school? I mean, do most of them stay and for how long would they stay for?
I was one of those people. Got hired. A lot of our senior staff has gotten hired while they were in school. I got hired during my degree. I think Morgan was the same way. I think, and I might be wrong, I think Al, our Assistant Director Hayden, was the same way. Joanna, our current teen librarian, got hired as a temporary filling a position actually when Assistant Director Hayden was on maternity leave, and then she fell in love, and then she started library school. And now she's our senior librarian. We tend to grab people who think libraries might be okay, and then they fall in love with it, and then they go to library school and become senior staff. So I would say our retention rate's 100% currently, if not close to it.
Mhm.
I just wanted that to be public. 'Cause
Yeah, and
it's a
especially-
really good record.
And especially with the master's degrees as well, people don't go to library school just to go to library school. They go to library school because they love it. Yeah, and do a lot of things, which honestly, you're doing more relevant things in your day to day. And so going to library school is a huge hassle. So the little bit of tuition reimbursement we give them, I think, is a great benefit. It's not a ton given what library school and grad school and undergrad cost these days, but I think it's a good faith on our part. And also helps them be a little bit more dedicated to us. But I think we have a really good
We do.
retention rate of people
We do.
loving it here.
Thank you. And in your report here,
Yeah.
I just thank you very much for all the work that you've done. It's, we have enhanced programs here where we're going to be online. So we're
Yep.
extending out to the community in ways that we haven't before.
Mm-hmm.
So, Ann and I had this conversation regarding, being a library trustee and how we can be more public and expose ourselves to the people, the citizens here that, here we are at the library and here we are the trustees. And I think that's that's a great way to do it. The other thing too, in the same spirit of that, is that I just have to say, wow, we're partnering with the PAT
Yep.
to televise programs, to put the library on our closed circuit television, and then again, get more PR for the library. I think that's fantastic. And Ann, that's what we were talking about. How can we become more visible? And here you are with this report telling us how you're going to do that. And I'm excited about also next month having our meeting in the Sutton Room.
Yep.
Have we ever had that in here before?
On occasion, not very often.
Okay.
It's a special day.
Yeah, so that's going to be kind of a real treat, I think. And I think that's great.
People who haven't spent any time in it.
And
No.
you'll see the work that our local history librarian is doing. She really dove into the collection and then saw that the collection had maybe made sense to previous archivists, but her focus is not so much archives, but it's sharing this with people and access to what we have. And so we actually on Friday, we had a Friday work party with donuts for 6 people that volunteered to come in on an extra day to either get comp time or extra pay to help her move stuff. And it was a day of literally taking books off of shelves and dusting them, adjusting shelves, figuring out what fit, because we discovered that a lot of shelves don't quite fit where they were made to fit 150 years ago. But figuring out, there are collections of books that we have all these Civil War records that I did all the fun moving of those up to the second floor that we don't want people on the second floor because it's easy to fall off. So all the books that aren't accessed by researchers up to the second floor, and the ones that are more actively sought after on the first floor. She's done an exhausting, remarkable job of making that room really user-friendly, I think, for the first time ever.
On the second one, it's years ago when we really started to try to get it in shape again.
Yep.
One of the older trustees, yes, there is a trustee older than me. There was a trustee at that time who said, "No, clean it up." He said,
Yeah.
"You got more stuff here than you ever have."
Yep.
And every time we talk about it, you tell us they found or something similar. So I would just support any continued searching and trying to make that more accessible, because it's a one of its kind. It's considered the best room in Essex County.
It is, absolutely.
So, I mean, the architecture and things like that.
She's doing a lot of work with
Because I'll keep going on it.
Well, she's doing work with the collection itself, and then shelves that are cracking, and just the physical infrastructure of the room. The ceilings are beautiful and the floor is beautiful, but books have been on these shelves, and like a lot of the books are in. I've learned so much from her. A lot of the books that have been stacked up maybe should not have been stacked up, so they're bowing a little bit. So how to straighten those out. And a lot of the stuff in the vault off of my office down there, all of George Peabody's stuff, for lack of a better word, maybe shouldn't have been stored on its side or slanting over. And so we're fixing that and actually doing it. She did an inventory of the vault off my office one afternoon with me in there, and she just kept saying, "Oh, look at this! Oh, look at this!"
Yeah.
And so part of the request she's going to have next month are display cases that we can put on the main floor here at the branches, maybe at City Hall, all around the city, to get our collection out of the dusty Sutton room, which is not so dusty anymore, and actually out into the public to show people what we have as well. So I'm actually really excited for next
It's a
year.
wealth of history.
It absolutely is.
And things and so on.
Absolutely.
You would say, you probably didn't get my message, but when Catherine's free, you had suggested that she and I take a look in
Yes, we'll do that in November. She has
November. Okay.
a
fine.
crunch. This next month is crunch time for her because we agreed that we would let her do her thing in there, and then we do have to be able to open it up to programming. So this is her last month of. I can show you as on your way out. It's a work in progress right now.
That's what I thought. I don't
This
want
is
to
her
go
last
anywhere.
month of finishing up, and then it'll be open to the public starting end of October, early November.
Okay, good.
So I would expect that this meeting,
Peter had a question as well.
I was still going through my comments on the director's report. So I'd expect the meeting next month is going to be probably longer than usual because there's going to be a lot of questions, a lot of interesting things happening. So plan accordingly. I'm looking forward to it. You mentioned also programming is going to, the Sutton Room will be open for programming as end of October. What programs are going to be in there? Is it part of the here?
Professor Theo Harris's workshops or his lectures will be in there, and I believe that starts October 20th. So it'll be open by the 20th. And there's one last fall concert in there, I believe in November. That I think on November 1st, actually, that will not November 1st. Another time that will be in there. And then all of the adult programs like yoga and meditation and stuff. Sometimes we do have those in there as well. And then Catherine's going to, senior librarian Vidal is also starting one-on-one appointments to help people do research in genealogy in there. And I believe her goal is to every other Saturday afternoon when she's here, kind of have open hours on Saturdays where people can come look around and poke around and just see what's in there. And she'll also have on display the really interesting finds that she's made recently, so people can see our collection without having to make an appointment. They can just wander in and take a look around.
And another question too, I love the library cards and the keychain ones too. Is there, can you report on how many new patrons you get next month from this event? That'd be kind of interesting to see. Then the last thing, and this is a lot of things, I just want to, again, compliment the staff and you for all of this work. But the oil and the valve that we're talking about here, I mean, I've heard French fry oil early on a few years ago. The bio oil, I read letters about 40 and 80 or different types of weights. And so they're changing the oil. And one of the things that, you know, it's an oil change, right? One of the things that catches my attention is that there's commentary, and I forget what the material was that I read, that there was leftover bio oil in there, and they didn't get it all, and that was somehow contributing to a continued problem. Do I remember that right, Rich?
You do remember that, right? Like,
And then the other thing too is I want to know, are they going to get all that oil out? Are we going to have to talk about having contaminated oil again in a year from now?
I think replacing the valve is where they had the problem with the leftover oil that turned into
Sludge.
sludge.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's the word I was looking for. So that's the valve.
That's the phrase,
we're
yeah.
replacing.
Right.
So, but and that's a good point. I mean, we want to guarantee that they
Right.
got all the sludge out. And that I know the valve will be okay.
Start clean, start.
And Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, so if the viscosity on two different types of oil is different,
Yeah, that's not good either.
that's, so when they say clean it out, if they really don't clean it out, because it's not like they're replacing it with the same stuff. It's not like when you get your oil changed, you're putting the same type of oil back in.
Yeah, they have to, that's a good point, John. They have to clean it out, make sure it's clean.
So is this, are we being ensured that this oil is actually being flushed out of the system and completely removed?
I'll ask. I would imagine, I would hope so, but I don't know if it's been actually stated, but I'll ask tomorrow.
Who's the elevator company again?
City elevator?
Yeah, that, they use them for the whole city.
Yeah.
But the question I would have, Kate, this is a big project, this is a big valve,
Mhm.
you're changing all the oil. I would assume, I hate to use that word, that we would get a 1-year warranty on this brand new valve.
I would want more on it.
While standard is usually one. I mean, if you can talk them into more, that's
I
great.
don't think we can get anything more. I think it is what it is for the valve, but I mean, that's a kind of like a 30-year item. If some long
Sure,
term.
hope so.
It would be part of it. Go ahead.
Is that Tim?
That's Jim. That's facilities department. Yep.
Yeah.
That's his job,
They're-
right?
Yes, that's,
Yeah, yeah.
I know, but so we have to make sure that he, for us.
yep, absolutely.
That should be part of the maintenance agreement, that the valve may just be a year, because that's what the company gives. But that with the maintenance, they should have some assumption that this is going right, because we've, I don't know, it's gone beyond the point where it was mildly humorous. You know, this is, it's gone beyond, and I don't know what anyone can do here about it, but
So can we get, when they take the old valve out, can they actually see the damage to this valve? That's the question. And say, show me how it's
They
bad?
were here this morning, starting with the oil. I'm not sure if they touched the valve this
Right.
morning. But I will figure out, I'll find out tomorrow morning.
I don't want to take up any more time. Is it leaking? Are they finding that it's leaking or just not functioning?
I think just not functioning. The valve, basically, it got to the point where it just got stuck between floors because it just stopped functioning. The elevator, it
Okay.
just stopped working. It broke. From what I understand, it's what actually allows it to stop at specific floors. We were having problems with leveling where it was stopping 4 inches below a floor, 2 inches above a floor. That caused some fun problems with carts and feet and
That's
It's
not
called a
oil.
leveling valve.
yeah.
Oh.
That's not oil.
No, well, the one, they're different.
Oh.
But the leveling valve is part of the valve.
Mm-hmm.
It's usually on top of it. So the main valve, and I can't speak for all of them, is usually like this big. The main valve, and then on top it'll be a leveling valve, which is electronic. And it adjusts, because a lot of times it'll override, depending if it's cold or hot, and you don't want people tripping, so it'll adjust. And you can usually tell when it's going bad.
Yep.
I just changed mine like 2 years ago, because it jumped,
Yep.
especially when you get to the top of the 5th floor. You know, scared of
How old was it?
20 to 25 years.
We can't make 6 months.
Can you remind me of the cost of this?
3 years. We got 4 years over the last one.
Okay, can you remind me of the cost of this whole repair?
I honestly don't know what it is because it's not coming out of our budget.
Okay.
I'm not receiving the bills for this anymore. I can find that out for you, but I did not receive the quote for this.
And then finally, they're here fixing it. When are they expecting that it'll be usable again?
Thus far, they've kind of just shown up without any warning, and then we find out that they're here without knowing really that they're here. I think they're just anxious to be done with the project as well. I don't know. I wasn't able to find them today to have any communications with
Can
them.
you kindly send this board, an
Yes,
email?
absolutely.
when The elevator is running.
Oh, absolutely. I will send the whole world an email. when
I'm
it's
just-
done.
What's a little concerning is that they're showing up and then
Mhm.
is Jim able to have conversations with them before they're just showing up?
Right,
Not
because I think,
without the way, we kind of feel like.
Oh, agreed.
Yeah.
agreed. Yep.
Thank you very much. For this good report. Any other questions for the director? No? Peter, and you next, Stephanie, I'm
that's
sorry,
okay,
I can't see on my side.
That's what the front room.
Yep.
Historical items and process had me thinking, it reminded me of something we were talking about pre-COVID.
Mhm.
The piano. Like,
Yeah.
where's the piano and is there any plans?
So the piano's still at the West. At this time, I think it's kind of low on our list of priorities
Yeah.
because we're still focusing on the Sutton room and the stuff that's already usable. And getting all of that. That, from what I remember, was going to be very expensive and was maybe going to need an extra fundraiser just for it. And that would be a foundation thing, I think, at that point. And I think the foundation's focus right now, and you please can correct me if I'm wrong, is more just getting the foundation up and running and starting its normal fundraisers. So that's something that honestly is kind of low on the list of priorities, I think, for me personally at the moment.
The next thing that has to happen with the piano is that we have to have this restoration expert to evaluate the situation and give us some idea of how to restore it so that we
Right.
can make a decision. That's where we are right now. But now that the building is open, maybe it's possible to get in touch. To do that.
And you really gotta speak up.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I can barely hear you. I know.
Sorry.
Stephanie?
No, I'm not going to keep us any longer, but regarding this is all great news, and I'm just so excited of all the yays and hoorays along the way from here. It's
Yeah.
just like, it's all positive.
It is.
I love the outreach. I love this. I coming up here, it's such a dawn. I miss the Sutton room. I miss the events that are up there. I miss the trustee, the medal ceremonies we had, like all that stuff is just, it's just some good feeling.
Agreed.
Looking forward here. Yeah.
Agreed.
Great. Good job.
Anybody else? Questions? Thank you. Do I have a motion to receive, the
So moved.
report? Stephanie, and the second, will you second?
I'm sorry, you made the motion.
Whichever one.
Seconding it, who's that?
First and second, Don,
Second.
and then Stephanie. Thank you.
Sorry.
1, 2.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
Did you lose Stephanie?
Hmm?
Did you lose Stephanie?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we lose Stephanie?
I think she just left when we talked about the elevator again.
I don't know. if
We'll give it a minute so we can
fell
get
off.
Stephanie.
She's been out a couple minutes.
Oh,
She's been gone a couple minutes.
did she leave or did we lose her? So let's move on to the report to the subcommittee. Building and grounds, Rick.
Nothing further from the director's report, especially the elevator.
And out of bond prints.
nothing other than the director had to report, but I would really like to get some information on the status of the project.
Sure, absolutely. I'm just waiting on the quote to go to the city and the city to say, let's do it, and then we'll set up the date. Have them picked up. Actually, and something that I wanted to set up with them that I think we talked about in March of 2020 was they had invited us to go watch our prints being conserved actually at their studios in Somerville, I believe. And I think everybody was excited and the world fell apart. But that's something I know that our local history librarian, Catherine, also is really interested in going as well. So it's something that I think it will take a little while to get going because they want us to come see them actually working on our pieces. But once that's up and running, maybe in the spring, I think it would be great for all of us to kind of take a field trip there one day to see what they're doing with our stuff because they're doing amazing work and they've been doing this for years and years and years. So I'd like to do that in the spring.
Fun.
Would be.
Let's see, so personnel, Don.
Nothing other than what the director's report.
Okay. Policy and procedures, Kate's not here, but we have a whole bunch of policies and procedures here. Liaison to the Friends of the Peabody Institute Library. Thank you. And liaison to the Peabody Historical Society. Liaison to the Peabody Institute Library Foundation.
Nothing further.
Okay.
Our event coming up this weekend.
All right, do I have a motion to receive the committee reports?
So moved.
Thank you, Don. Do I have a second? And thank you, Rick. Any discussions? None? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. All right, so this brings us to the unfinished business, number 6 on the agenda. Is there any unfinished business? I have nothing brought to my attention.
It's the elevator.
Okay, your report generated some of that question. Okay, so, and new business, any new business, your report also. Okay, please, Rick, go ahead.
Can I make a motion now?
Yes, you may.
I make a motion that the trustees designate Sunday, December 26, 2021, and Sunday, January 2nd, 2022 as trustee holidays.
Do I have a second on that? Thank you. And any discussion? Nobody's up there. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
We'll make a lot of part-time people very happy.
No,
Thank you. They're the people that they are the flexibility that allow us to do what we do. And for those poor unfortunate people who fall on that rotation, that would have been a bummer. So thank you very much.
Good catch.
Okay, one other motion here. For the request of the director, we designate for late opening on December 8th for all staff, for the entire staff meetings. So the libraries would be opening up at 12 o'clock that day.
Do I have a second?
second?
Stephanie, thank you. Discussion? No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Anybody opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
I have another motion also.
Go ahead, Rick.
I am requesting the library trustees to approve of tuition and reimbursement for the fall semester classes as is required by the contract.
Do I have a second? Thank you, Don. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank
Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Go ahead, Stephanie.
Well, this is, we want to discuss the policy. We can make a motion first, to approve the policy and the new agreement for the Chromebooks.
I'm sorry, Chromebooks?
Yeah, we have 20 Chromebook laptops.
Yeah, I see right
And
there.
so we're requesting the policy and lending agreement to approve that policy and lending agreement for the Chromebooks.
Okay, do I have a second for that? Fran, thank you for the second. Any discussion at this point?
I can provide just the basic background. It was purchased with the state earmark funds from earlier in the spring. Basically, it's 20 Chromebook laptops to let people use. They can borrow with our hotspots if they want, or just use them to write a resume or do whatever work they have to do. 15 for outside use. We're going to have some of the 3 locations. Checkoutable for 2 weeks, no renewals, just like a new book, basically. No overdue fines on them, like with every item, but after a couple weeks, after 2 weeks, we will mark them as lost and charge the person sending the bill for them. So there are consequences, like with every book with being fine-free, there are consequences if you lose or damage the item. And it basically does not hold the library or trustees or the city liable for anything bad that might happen on these. They get hard reset every time they're brought back in, so everybody's information gets wiped from them. They're Chromebooks, so they don't run Microsoft Word, they run Google software. And we're gonna have available staff that can teach people how to use them. Using Google Docs is basically using Word, so we can give people a quick crash course on that and also print it out, directions on how to use everything. You have to be 13 and over. 5 reserved in the library for library use as well. If people don't want to stay in the main room, they can check out a Chromebook, check it out with their card, and then go somewhere else in the library for 3 hours and bring them back. So pretty basic. But I think it's very exciting.
Thank you for that. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Again, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. We have another motion.
You can make a motion.
Go ahead, Stephanie.
Approve the updated material circulation policy to reflect our new overdue fine-free status. Can you do this as a group, you think?
I will have a discussion. We can go.
Okay, yeah. All the policies that are becoming updated. Start with the material circulation policy.
Do you want to make a motion to talk about all of these or separately?
Make a motion to accept the material circulation
Okay.
policy.
Okay, material circulation policy. Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, discussion.
What's the big change?
So big change is no fines. Well, I went through and I gave you the old copy and the new copy.
Yeah.
Essentially, I'll go through the old copy and tell you what's changed. We got rid of VHS videos because it is 2021. I also got rid of young adult CDs because we don't have a CD collection in teen anymore. I got rid of adult and young adult software because it is 2021. I just removed those. There used to be different rules for the children's collection, which we thought were very restrictive, like 22 holiday books at a time. We decided that was not necessary anymore. So I got rid of the whole section of special limits on children's collections. And so now the adult, young adult, and children's, they all have the same rules in terms of new books and limit on checking out DVDs, limit on checking out music CDs and audio. So just more streamlined and consistent for each department. I also got rid of software because you don't have those. The branches also had kind of random seeming specific rules. We scratched those as well. So again, every department and every location has the same rules, easier for people to remember.
Oh, yeah.
So then under fines policy, it said that they will charge 5 cents a day up to a maximum $2. I scrapped that, and now we don't charge overdue fines on anything. So there you go. We used to also charge a $5 a day for overdue museum passes. I scrapped that as well because no fines on anything. We do still charge people again for lost items, so that there is still a reason to bring things back, of course. And then we used to not charge fines for senior citizens. I got rid of that because we don't charge fines for anybody now. And then under payment of fines, this is something I just actually recently learned about. There's always been a rule that I've known here that if you had over $10 of overdue fines on your card, we in Peabody paused your borrowing privileges until you got under $10. That apparently, which I don't know if you knew this, Morgan, that's a totally subjective library by library decision.
Yeah, 5 Marblehead, which is so low.
Right, and I think it's 5 in other libraries too. So
Yeah.
basically every library decides what their threshold is when your overdue fines get above $5 in Marblehead, $10 here. Kind of whatever your library, I think some other libraries are $25. It's not consistent. And that's when you can't check out books, which means that patrons might
Other
hear and check out a book
Yeah.
when they have $7 in fines and then go to Marblehead and be told they can't check out a book. And
Right.
there's no consistency. So Noble's actual policy is $50. 50.
Which, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I just learned this from Sharon, who went to the CERC meeting
Really?
last week. This is brand new to me also. I don't think anybody really knew. So Noble, as a network, Evergreen, our system, when you get to $5, not in lost books, you are automatically blocked from borrowing if you have any lost or damaged items, but overdue fines only. Evergreen, the computer program, once you get to $50 and 0 cents of overdue fines, it blocks your card for you and it will not let us override it. This $10 rule we had was just something that we had to rely on staff to remember to do. And it was kind of wishy-washy. So I am requesting that we change our policy to be $50, which is the same as our computer system. And I also don't think that we're going to really reach that because now we don't charge overdue fines. So it's kind of, I would think, the moot point anyway. But I would like to be consistent with what the computer program says and what our network says. So people aren't in a situation also where their $10 of fines blocks them somewhere, doesn't block them here. It's just an inconsistency and I think a barrier to access as well. So that's the change there. And this is something that,
That's just overdue.
FYI.
That's overdue fines. That's not lost materials. You can't.
right, that's blocked anyway. This is just overdue.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I know, new information.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You must be really tired because if you're not charging overdue,
right.
where do you get overdue? Fine.
Other libraries.
Oh, other libraries.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that's if you have overdue books from Marblehead or from
Yeah.
Salem and you come here, we would tell you what's on your card. Our staff, it's a little bit more work for our staff because they should really be like, by the way, you have like $15 overdue fines on your card. You might want to take care of it, but we will not stop you from borrowing anything.
That's just if you bought a book from Market.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I don't think we'll get it. It's not something that will actually affect our patrons that much in terms of our books because there are no overdue fines now. It's something that really is kind of doing a courtesy to like Marblehead's patrons or to Salem or Danvers patrons, making sure they know they still have overdue fines, but we're not going to penalize them and block them from our using our services.
Unless they're over 50.
Unless they're over $50, in which case the system, the computer blocks you anyway. So it's just technicalities. I just want to make it easier. Yep.
Any more,
Yes.
Okay.
any more discussion?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this section. And at the end, it says patrons shall pay overdue fines with cash only, but because it's 2021, I added credit cards because you can pay fines with your credit card now, or lost and damaged books. If you just go online through your account, you can pay it online. So you can see this was last updated in 2010 and the times they are changing. So just little updates.
So Kate, have you had any consideration to having like Venmo added here, or is that considered a credit card too?
It's paid through Noble. The money actually gets paid to the network.
Okay.
That then sends us a check every month. And there is a credit card processing fee, but the library eats it basically. So if you pay your $1.50 fine, we get a check for like $1.35 or something like that. So it's not something we're able to, unless it would have to be a system-wide Noble thing to add Venmo. It's not something that we can do on our own.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I just had one question for Kate just to consider. Now that we're dropping the fine,
Mhm.
and I'm in support of that based on your recommendation and the rest of the libraries, but I would like maybe in 90 days just to take a peek and see if we've got many more books that have not been returned.
Sure.
See if this has had an effect. I'm not
Okay.
saying that we want to put it back in, but
Sure.
just so we know where we're going.
I'd like to add to that, if you don't mind. I'd like to see if it increases our circulation.
Right.
Because I think sometimes I'm 12 years old, it was
It's embarrassing.
Never
Scary.
You'll never come back again. I've had friends of mine being like, I've never gone to the library because they're scared of librarians. That they're
You don't want to get yelled at. Yeah, it's embarrassing.
They really do.
Yeah.
Like, I'll never go back.
Yeah.
So that was a great idea, Tom, but I want to see the other way too.
So
That's-
my one caution is that times are still very strange in terms of circulation numbers. I feel like this is something maybe that we should try.
In 6
It's
months.
something I would have to compare to like the same time of the year in 2019, you know.
You can't use this period.
It's a weird time now. And also Noble has just started, which I think most libraries are choosing not to, but Noble has basically any item that was long overdue starting in like February of 2020. Noble normally, if a book was 42 days overdue, your card gets blocked and it says you have a long overdue item, you got to return it or pay for it, but your card is turned off, basically you lose access. Noble suspended that during not that the pandemic's over, but Noble suspended that and just starting I think next week they delayed it.
Yeah.
They're starting to
Send long overdue notices.
send long overdue notices and start billing people. But it seems like I've talked to Noble about this. A lot of libraries are choosing to, and I think we're going the same way, are choosing to, instead of billing people for these items that they've had since February of 2020, and God knows if they even live here anymore, and they're going to be getting these bills in the mail. And I think it's a really yucky way to remind people the library exists. A lot of libraries, what I think we're going to do is choose to have these books all checked back into people's cards, still say, hey, you have this book, can you please bring it back, but not charge people for these books a year and a half later, because I don't think they even, I feel like that's a very,
Like a one-time damage.
yeah, I feel like if we're forgiving fines, forgiving old overdue fines, it's still a pandemic. You don't know where your kid has your book from July of 2020. It just feels like a really kind of a rude, like awakening. Hey, the library is still here. Do you remember us? By the way, you owe us $80. So I don't know what Marblehead's doing, but we are going to be having all the books by Noble checked back in. So they go off of people's cards, but still send them notices saying like, we're not charging you, but please bring it back. And then if somebody does return it, it still goes back on the shelf. We're not deleting it from our system. We're just going to mark it as missing. So if somebody does return it, we'll just put it back on the shelf. But I think a lot of libraries are going to be doing this kind of one-time amnesty because it's been
We've been in amnesty mode this whole time still.
Yeah.
Because we're not taking any cash and I don't
Right.
charging anybody.
Absolutely not. This is not the time still. Yeah.
And we also had a discussion that it costs more to manage a system like that, right? Collecting the money and than it is what you're collecting. So
Yep.
makes sense to collect it.
And I think people are still just getting comfortable coming back to the library and remembering that we exist. And the last thing you want to do is have them come back and they want to re-up their card because it's expired and they haven't been here near and they're so excited, but just kidding, you can't check out a book because you lost the book in March of 2020. Like that's just not.
Depending on where they are, come here seasonally, so they may have lost it.
Yeah, it's not the time. It's not the time to do that.
Hard.
Not that it ever really is, but it especially is not. It's like insult after injury at this point. So, but I think that in the spring would be a good time to do that.
Take a look at it again.
Because it's hard it's apples to oranges right now because it's still in the middle of a pandemic.
And I really like Rich's addendum.
Yeah. No,
I think that's more likely to happen.
Right now is not the time to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. Now is not the time to measure anything.
No. It's a strange time.
In the spring.
Any further discussion on Stephanie's motion? You made a motion? You got a second? We've had discussion?
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you.
I have one other question, if I'm able.
Yes, please.
I only got one page of the no smoking policy.
That's the whole thing. Oh, did you get the draft or the
I
regular?
didn't grab. Okay, that's what I want to see. Okay, thank you.
There's the museum pass one and then.
I make a motion to accept the new museum pass policies and procedures.
Thank you, Stephanie. Do we have a second?
Second.
None? Discussions?
I have a question.
Yep.
One pass per day per family.
Yes.
So there are some people.
Yep.
Yes. Cover the.
Yes. It depends on the institution, but generally it's 2 adults, 2 children, 4 people. Yep. They generally do cover enough people for a family. Yeah. The only other changes to this are that it says at the bottom of guidelines that they can borrow pass if they have no outstanding mobile balance over 10. I'm changing that to the 50 to reflect the change of overdue block number 50, like we talked about earlier. And then return policies. I took out the $5 a day charge for an overdue pass because of no fines and also because most of our passes are emailed these days. And so I added that passes that are emailed to you do not have to be returned because they're just codes that are sent to you. And that's the only difference on that one.
Pretty passes, if you recognize it. Pretty passes.
A little louder and I
Passes
can't
may
hear you.
be picked up at the main library only.
Mhm.
And down here, you talked about emailed passes.
So
Do you email passes?
it depends on the institution.
Somebody puts it up.
So like the Stone Zoo or the Franklin Park Zoo, the Boston Zoo, for example, when you reserve a pass online through our reservation system, basically you get in.
So some passes, when you reserve, they give you like a discount code that you then
Yeah.
reserve on the individual.
I think for Stone Zoo, it says like, you basically say, our system emails you back and says you've been confirmed. All you have to do is go to the Stone Zoo website and put in this like library is like the code.
Yeah, library code, and then that's how you reserve, and that's how you get your discounted tickets.
Yeah.
Others that you actually have to come to the library.
Like the Massachusetts,
the pass.
the Massachusetts State Park. It's like a
Yeah.
plastic hangy thing that goes on your rearview mirror.
So
It's confusing because the email passes are far superior and more institutions are switching over to them,
Okay.
but we still have some that are like pick upable passes that are physical passes. So just to be confusing, and every institution's different, and some institutions you still have to because of COVID. You can't even make reservations online, so you get our pass with the code, but then you still have to call. It's
a nightmare to set up. I've been doing it.
and it's a nightmare for patrons too because there's no consistency because every museum is a separate organization. So they
Yeah.
all have their own rules, and yeah, it's a nightmare right now. It's not fun right now.
So I see that we're charging $5 a day for late passes.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
That's stricken from the draft.
We're the same software as they do here.
Yeah, the draft one has There's one that says draft on it that is taking that off.
So are we looking to pass this and update our procedures? If we are, it says that in the very last sentence, patrons who return passes late will be charged an overdue fine of $5 a day, which is in conflict.
Right, well, there's the draft one that has that stricken from it.
I'm
Here we
sorry,
go.
I'm
That's
sorry.
okay, that's old, this is new.
Sorry, Kay.
No worries.
Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everyone.
One. Fine. Make a motion to accept the no smoking policy and procedure.
Second.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you, Fran. Discussion.
I just added weed, basically. I added that, no smoking of tobacco, but also marijuana on library grounds, library property, and then also no use of any vaping devices as well, because we've had problems with that as well.
I thought that was already in there previously, the old one.
It talks about e-cigarettes,
Oh.
which is a kind of an antiquated term anyway, and not what vaping is, from what I hear from
Lingo changes
the lingo.
every year.
I want to specifically be able to talk to like the teenagers that were vaping up in the third floor conference room a couple years ago. Because if they say, well, but it's not an e-cigarette, I can say, yeah, well, it's vaping, because I know the cool terms too. It's a lingo thing.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
No, I also did not realize what the differences were and how they're just kind of interchangeable terms. But one specifically for marijuana, one specifically for tobacco, and that's the concern when it kind of hit both of those.
Okay,
Is this a retrospective change? Because it says September 8th, 2014.
So that's the old one, and then the draft one, I have the new dates.
They're back to back,
Oh.
each one was,
two separate pages.
Well,
when
I,
we did it together, I might have picked up one, I tried to pick up two pieces from the other one.
I can give you mine to look at.
Back to back.
Yeah,
I think we grabbed it.
I'm
There it
sorry,
is.
but I had to move from my.
Yeah, no worries. That's it right there.
That's the new one. One says
Okay.
draft and one doesn't, so the draft is the
Thank
new
you,
one.
thank
There you go.
Amazing to see people big, sure, like a dot. It looks like a steam engine.
So much steam comes out.
Any further discussion on the smoking policy? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I just want to make one comment on this.
Please do.
Ever thought of stuffed animal slumber party? I give them clues for.
I actually think Assistant Director Hayden was the first to do that, and then
I think she was, yeah.
yeah, and then our current children's librarian is doing. It's the cutest thing ever. They post pictures on Facebook of it, and whoever the children's librarian, Assistant Director Hayden, and our current children's librarian, they spend like an entire afternoon choosing them, and it's the cutest thing in the entire world. They usually put up a big Facebook post, and I'll share it with all of you after it's done. I actually want my daughter to participate. I'm gonna have her make a bed for her stuffed animal at home and then bring it in. They bring the stuffed animal here, and then Allison's currently collecting shoe boxes because they meet outside and the kids decorate beds for their friends, for their pets. My daughter calls hers pets, whatever. Stuffed animals. They decorate beds, and then they leave the stuffed animal here, and they make name tags. And then Allison spends all afternoon taking them on adventures to the library and sharing the pictures on Facebook, and then they get to pick up the pet the next day. It's really cool. It's surprisingly cool. There's been pictures before of them having story time in the Sutton room and all climbing on top of each other to make copies of their own faces and hanging out in the staff room. It's darling.
All right, so that was all the motions I think we have from your report. There's nothing else. Did we miss anything, Kate?
No, I think that's
Why don't you go ahead. Go ahead. I just have a quick comment, but you go first.
I'm gonna change the subject, so why don't you go?
I might change the subject too. So I'll go first here. Just a question,
Yeah.
Kate, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I'm not gonna really put you on the spot, but I'm hearing things from Don, and I'm hearing things from Rick, and this question's coming up in my mind about, I want to know how many patrons we get with this
Yeah.
thing here, and that's kind of neat, right? And then Don wants to know, I think you said, how many books are lost? And then Rick wants to know, how many circulations have we have increases, right? So what I do for a job is I work on quality metrics, and something popped into my head. I'm thinking about work, and I'm just wondering, does the library do anything with metrics?
Al does. Assistant Director Hayden does.
Is that something that we would be able to see?
Yeah, so Al, Assistant Director Hayden, so I put together last year a really big infographic of, and we are working on that. She's working on the updated version now that all of our statistic gathering.
My campaign leader.
Yeah. So she put together an infographic last year. I'm sorry, Assistant Director Hayden, if I'm not getting the timing right. I want to say in the winter of basically during the pandemic, how many people we had served, new cards we gave out, new online cards we gave out, books were checked out, people used our self-checkout system, all that fun stuff. It's all easy for us to gather. Noble as a network is fabulous in terms of keeping track of all the statistics for us, and it's a really easy way for us to go online and grab all the statistics. And then Al puts them in beautiful visual. There's a poster outside I can show you one of them. Metrics of bar graphs and an infographic of what this all means and what this all looks like in the numbers and everything. And she's been meaning to update the current numbers to the past year and a half. Yes, it exists. And it's something that we've also been meaning to make a separate page on our website to put it up there, but things happen and things get in the way. But those statistics definitely do exist. And our online reporting dashboard from Noble is great because it gives you month over month, year over year, compared, the last fiscal year. It's really easy ways for us to look at comparisons as well. So the numbers you're asking for are easy to find. It just, you look at the numbers now and everything looks kind of scary because actually things look great, because if you look at, what was happening last October, things are better than last October. But then you look at the October before that and the bottom kind of falls out. So the numbers are there. I just want to wait a little bit before we look at those specifics because it'll be strange. But yeah, they exist. And I'll have Assistant Director Hayden make sure when she's done updating that she'll send it out, because I know people have asked us for it as well. So, and she makes it look very pretty and easy to digest and easy to understand and
Stephanie, please.
accessible.
Thank you.
So, I've had a couple of conversations with the high school. One was getting ready for the George Peabody Medal ceremony at graduation time in May, or the beginning of June. And then Mr. Simmons, he's the head of the music department for the city. He called the other day, and they both, the principal and John, we were talking about moving forward and hoping to have in 2022 doing our traditional ceremony here at the Sutton Room. But as far as the medals go, Principal Magno was saying that he actually would like to upgrade the medals. And we've since had that person, the Rappaport family, since they left, they want to purchase as a gift. I think every year, I have to clarify if it's every year or just one time, but they want to purchase the medals for the students. And that was stated, I think, at a city council meeting, correct? I think it was noted that they made that gesture.
I believe you.
Yeah.
I think this maybe happened before my time. I wasn't
Yeah, it was
aware of this.
on the past year.
Okay.
So, in the middle of all the other stuff happening. But so I would like to, and if anyone wants to join, but I would like to, we have to prepare now because then we have to order them ahead of time. I'd like to move forward and look at other options.
Sure.
If they want to pay for an upgrade and maybe have something a little more related to George Peabody, because the medal itself is not, there's no direct correlation to George Peabody itself. And we just thought how nice it would be to upgrade the medal and have it be more relative to the person for whom they're being named and honored for. So if you guys are okay with me just kind of continuing that conversation, welcome anyone else to join.
I think that would be great, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Is there anything of this Stephanie, our archivist, right? Is there anything in the collections that's specifically George Peabody? Maybe a bust or something for medal could be fashioned.
I think that's the next step is what's out there, customize it, and it's just moving it forward. It's not making any big decisions yet. I think it'd be nice to have a few things to say, maybe in the end I'll put together or what you like or what have you. But and I'll bring back more details next time. to follow up on that, but I just wanted to give you an update.
Great.
So maybe the board can help me here. I think that's fantastic, Stephanie. Is this like subcommittee work? Can this be considered subcommittee work? Are we creating a subcommittee? Is that something that would make
It's a
sense?
one-time thing, because I think once we choose the medal, it'll be the same one going forward thereafter, you know what I mean? So I think this is a big change, considering how many years we've been giving out this medal. This will be a big change in the gift to those top 8 students. But then once we pick it, I think we want to stay with the same thing thereafter. So it's just a little side project for now, and it'll.
How would you like to keep track of the progress on this to keep everybody informed? Would you like to have it as an agenda item?
Yeah, we can do an agenda item next month, November, and I'll just update you with. There may not be anything to update, but I'd like to get some people together at the high school and get things moving
That's
forward.
awesome. I think that's great.
Yeah, just so we don't.
Peter?
I was gonna say, I've never even seen George Peabody medal, like, in the news and neighborhoods, but
Yeah.
when
We have a
I
picture of
hear
it,
it,
Yeah.
all I envision is like a gold coin.
Yeah.
With like his face or his head on it.
Oh,
That's what I
right.
thought the
And
George
you're
Peabody
right,
was.
exactly. It's not, it's a pin. It actually is a pin at the ceremony, not here at the Sutton on graduation day. And this past year, they put it to convocation. They didn't do it at graduation, they did it at convocation, which actually makes a little more sense. That way you're not holding up graduation. And convocation is a little intimate. It's also acknowledging their status as a top academic scholar. So it fits the convocation, aligned better.
What is the image on her?
It's weird. I forget what it is. I've seen it because I've been on, but I remember opening it for the first time and not being too overwhelmed by it and thinking, oh, this is nice, but I kind of had that expectation too of something being a little more wow. So I'm glad he brought that up and said, is there any way we can kind of upgrade? And I'm like, yeah, let's go for it,
Something in bronze, maybe?
Yeah.
Through the chair, without taking a whole lot of time on that. Up until about maybe 15 years ago, it was hardly, the medals weren't presented in the same way. They got it in a private ceremony, and it was very quiet. And after looking at that, it was this board that said, we should be doing some due diligence for George. And actually, these kids, I think the exact phrases we heard, the football team, rightfully so, gets a banquet.
Yeah.
This kid gets that.
Yeah.
But these kids, the top 10 or
Yeah,
8 or 10
eight,
in the
yeah.
class, I said, here's your medal. And that was it. There was even a time, and I'm a little mixed on this. I think it might have been they thought it was the nice thing to do, but the girls' medals used to be smaller than the guys' medals. They thought it was a fashion thing. And so now I said, no, they're all the same size. But we've been bringing this.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing. I think we get to we have that opportunity to revisit everything that it is, and kind of go forward and be open-minded about what is out there and what we can do.
And we don't want to take up a lot of time, but I think it was important to mention it at the graduation ceremony that these kids were getting this award for all the work, because this wasn't just like their last year. This is from when they hit high school all the way up.
All 4 years. It's a
Yeah, and
cumulative thing.
it was a lot of time for them, and it was a major thing. And I thought that they needed a little boost on that.
Not now.
It's a coin. It looks
And
like.
there's the other side. of it.
Mhm.
Oh, I see. Yeah, not now. It does not look like that. But
They deserve a spot at graduation, not long, because you got 3,000 people there.
I think they know
Thanks, Rick.
they acknowledge them. They acknowledge them. But the Sutton Room ceremony is my favorite. I mean, that's just
It is.
such a lovely, I love it. They really do get honored, and it's an intimate, and
Exactly.
the crowd comes and sings, and the senator, whoever dignitaries are able to make it come, and it's just really nice.
Stephanie, thank you for bringing that up and taking that on. When would you have to be done with this?
I don't, it depends on the vendor, so that's the next step is, who are they working with? Do they have the ability to give us something more,
Yep.
creative?
At Crab Trophy, we used.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
It's very.
They go to, Harrington for medals, I believe. Pretty sure it's Harrington Trophy, not Crown, because I think it's just been so long. They've been working with,
Yeah,
companies.
well, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure that we get to the mayor, probably Tom Walsh and Joan Lovely, Because in the past, once we got on them, of course, the mayor came anyway, but the reps came.
Oh, yeah.
to that. And so, and we made a big deal of it.
Well, they've
That's,
done so much.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Is it well deserved?
Okay. Again, thank you. Anything else for new business, anybody? Okay, so moving on, resolution. No resolutions? And any matters suggested by a trustee to the library director prior to the issuance of the notice of agenda? Was there any? None? And our last item on the agenda here is any matter suggested by any person in writing to the library director prior to the issuance of the notice of the agenda and the meeting containing the title and description of the agenda item. None. Okay. I'd like to have the next date, I think is November 1st, you said? Okay.
Mhm.
Can you imagine November 1st? Yeah. All right, so November 1st, 7, and we're going to be in the Sutton Room, right?
Yep.
So excited.
Occurred to me, just making sure we don't have another event in the Sutton Room that night, because that would be ironic. Oh, look, we do.
Oh, no.
There is a thing in the Sutton Room on November 1st. It's our last fall concert, of course.
Oh.
So maybe because I think we should maybe bump it then, the meeting to the next Monday night. That would be the 8th.
Yeah, don't,
Yeah, it's a really neat,
which concert is that?
New England Ballet Theater. So I would propose, or somebody else can officially, I think it's really important that we be in the Sutton Room. So we can either do it another day that week if we want to switch from a Monday, maybe do that Tuesday night, or the next Monday. It's whatever. Never mind, not Tuesday night then.
The 8th, Monday, the 8th. Does everybody know that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest.
Okay.
Let me just check
What
on
date
Monday
did you
the
say?
8th.
Monday, November 8th.
Okay,
Sorry about that. I
One
just
moment, let's make sure.
think it's important that we do that in there.
absolutely. That's why we fixed it up.
Oh, you know what? Actually, I think Catherine's out that week on the 8th,
You gotta have Catherine.
which she's necessary.
Can I, how about Wednesday, the 3rd? Is Wednesday a weird day? Does it need to be Monday?
Wednesday's my
Not if we
birthday.
vote on it.
That's okay.
No, we'll bring
That's
cake.
okay.
It's, well, this is the problem with December. We still have to have a dinner. And we usually have a short meeting in December.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm kind of concerned about interfering with.
Are you sure Catherine's out the week of the 7th, 8th?
She's out Monday through Wednesday. Yeah, we could do it another night. Maybe we could.
How about November 15th?
That gets very close then to our next.
It's 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks away from
Well-
the meeting.
Can we have it during the election week? The week that we're going to have our meeting on Monday, any day?
She's not available.
Oh,
There may be people involved in the polls.
All right, sorry.
The 15th is, as
Yeah,
as we heard, the meeting in December, the first, of whenever we have that first meeting, it's a very short meeting anyway. So if we have a meeting in November, it's a little bit late. We can do the business of the December meeting. And I would do that, because I don't want to let it get away. I want to while the iron's hot. So I'd be fine with the 15th.
15th, everybody? So, no, Fran.
No, we're not gonna have it. Change it. We're gonna have,
The majority of us can go, I think. We can.
right, as long as we have a quorum.
let me just double check our calendars, the library calendar as well, because I don't want to be in this position again.
So November 15th, Monday.
So I'm not running to write it with it. No, it's a conflict with my other library.
Okay.
Yeah, fortunately, I went in the process.
We should be okay that night.
There.
15th, okay.
Yeah.
And the meeting minutes tonight.
And you'll add a
if I
few
wanna
agenda items,
go
okay.
into my
Yeah.
doctor, I can't do that. If I-
Work is work.
Yeah, it's a
So
bummer
we're going
too,
for
'cause I really
November
love
15th?
coming here. So I wish it was on a different night.
You go to
I wanna go on
15th?
Mondays.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody go to the
Sucks,
15th.
like,
It'll be Monday the
no,
15th.
Monday the 15th.
It wasn't
7
even- it
o'clock
wasn't
in the
even
Sutton
real
Room.
before
Okay.
I got so busy before my new director was. "When are you
So
doing
moved.
All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
that?"
So moved.
Rick?
So,
Second on Rick and first on
Second,
John.
second, whatever.
yeah,
Okay,
so originally-
discussion. No discussion, all in favor?
All right.
All opposed? Any opposed? The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
That's a good report tonight.